or grow it. From the Stash Podcast.
This episode is sponsored by CLtv, a leading provider in high-quality American-made LED lights. If you're tired of dealing with low-quality LEDs that fail to deliver, well, then you need to check out CLtv state-of-the-art LEDs. These lights are engineered to deliver superior performance and energy efficiency, making them the perfect choice for any home grower. Their commitment to excellence is reflected in every product they produce. So whether you're looking for better efficacy or just to upgrade the build overall, make sure you check out CLtv. They got the perfect solution for you. Visit fromthestash.com/LED and use discount code TheStash15 at checkout to save yourself a little bit of money on a new CLtv LED.
All right, boys. Welcome
to
back.
From the Stash Podcast.
Back at it again.
Another
Boy,
week.
Mr. Grow It. This guy over here, Pigeons 420, and me, Rob. And yeah, it's another week in Viva Las Vegas.
Yeah, the From the Stash Studios.
Stash House.
Stash House.
Stash
Yeah, I
House.
like that. Over at the Stash
Totally
House.
legal.
Yeah. Totally, yeah.
I liked it.
Nothing
Nothing in here. Just we're stashed in here.
We're the Stash.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Man, I just want to give a huge shout out to AC Infinity for making this possible, man.
Oh, yeah.
Every single week, we're able to sit here, hash out some of the most passionate things that we love.
We've
And
cried already. a few
It's a
times.
huge shout out to AC Infinity for helping making that possible, man. They've got some of the greatest grow equipment. They support this community, and it is an absolute pleasure to give them a shout out for helping support this podcast.
yeah.
So if you're stumbling through the internet, you end up on acinfinity.com. Use the Stash 15, save yourself a few dollars off at checkout. And if you go over to AC Infinity on Instagram, thank them for being a sponsor of this show, because man, this wouldn't be possible. And we wouldn't be able to hash out what we're going to be talking about today. What is it? What are we going to be talking about, boys?
First time high, baby.
First time I got high?
First time.
Man, there was a guy who worked at the dispo over at the Botanical Company out in Lansing. He was telling me about when he was 23 or 24 the first time he got high. I was like, whoa. Mine's almost toxic. I don't know if I can give all total details, but that's crazy.
How old were you, boys, to start off? How old were you when you got
12.
11. OG shit,
Oh,
baby.
you're beating
Hey, not proud. I'm not proud.
16, 17?
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I think it's good. It's honestly, it's probably a better time. I feel like your brain's at least a little more developed.
Yeah, I mean, the studies out there saying, it's better for the brain to be fully developed.
I am a firm believer that I didn't want to damage my brain, so I
That's
waited.
what it was.
No, that's not what it was at all. It was dumb as shit.
Couldn't find any weed until then.
Yeah, no, I'm a firm believer, though. Maybe we should start off by saying that children should not smoke
10
at all.
million % kids should not smoke.
at all. It's not that
Yeah.
not that this plant isn't beneficial to human beings and in some cases children, but they should not be smoking this product at all. At all.
I don't
I'm a
endorse breaking any of the laws or anything like that. Like, make that
and
clear,
morally,
you know?
like, we like kids. Not in a weird way, but we like,
But
it's
first time getting hizzy.
just-
You gonna start? Go ahead.
Marion. I think I was
Still
the only one
wearing
who got
diapers.
stoned the first time. Like, we were just saying that outside. We were talking briefly, little summary of the epi. Did you get stoned the first time?
No. It took me about, I think, 5 times, and then I got stoned on like my 5th time, I think.
Wow,
yeah.
5 times.
I think it was 5 times, yeah, if I remember correctly.
Man, there's nothing like the high of being high where you're not supposed to be. And I think that's where it kicked in for me is like, so I'm walking with a buddy, and I was very fortunate that my mom was the plug, we'll say, when I was young. I used to just be able to grab. She wouldn't even notice. I was a piece of shit. I paid her back by now. I've probably talked about it on Prohibition Stories and a few others, but I'd like army crawl in there and just grab handfuls of bud. And I would use it as a barter system to get cigarettes and shit. I'd be like, I'll trade you this much in a bag for a pack of cigarettes. I'm like, all right. Well, I'm walking with my buddy Brad, RIP to his crazy ass. And we had a bunch of weed with no papers, no cigarettes, no bowl, no nothing. And I didn't really care to smoke the weed, but I wanted to smoke something. I was like, we need to smoke. We're walking, and there's 2 older kids walking by. And me and Brad look over like, yo, you guys smoke? Like, cigarettes? If anybody ever asks if they need to specify what they smoke, they smoke weed. I feel like that's just a dead
What are you
giveaway. It's
asking about?
like, smoke what? Okay, yeah, clearly you smoke weed. Or the big cigarettes? Like, yeah, that and then some. So these guys had a wooden tobacco pipe, like corncob throwback wooden pipe. And I was young and I didn't know any better. And I'm like, "Do we smoke it? You got any tobacco we'll put in there too or something? Like, I want to be able to smoke a cigarette." And they're like, "No, we don't smoke tobacco at all." I was like, "Okay, well, you got a tobacco corncob pipe, but you got weed, let's smoke it." Remember I had a Dr. Dre Chronic container. It was like an Altoid case. I don't know where I got it from. I think I stole it from somebody when I was young. And I used to cram my butt in there. And I opened it up, and he was just blown away. He couldn't even believe it. He's like, that's the most weed I've ever seen in my life. We proceeded to smoke almost the most weed he's ever seen in his life. I don't know what the thought process was. I just wasn't getting the effect I was from a cigarette. So I kept smoking more and more and more. We're walking back, and I remember my buddy Brad had a step that was like randomly placed to walk in the house, and I completely missed it. Just woof, drop clean. Brad turns around, looks at me, busts his head on the top of the door as we're going, and like as stupid and dumb and high as you can get. And his mom comes in, she's like, "You smell like reefer." And she was pissed. Made us do the little hand rub thing like this to smell it, and I like my high kicked in severely. I was just like, oh, like almost a pass out comatose high. It was only once his mom started tripping, like because I shouldn't have been high there. You know what I'm saying? And she was making us do every test, and she just was dumb as a rock. And she was like, "Okay, have you been drinking? What's going on with you boys?" I was like, no, we're just hanging out. That's all. We ate so much food. We literally pulled up chairs in front of the fridge as if it was like a TV show and opened this motherfucker up and just sat there just
Eating.
not even, just looking at what to eat. Or just, like 30 minutes just trying to plot what was the best stuff. And we made the most weird food. I remember Brad made, not to this day, he's passed away, but last time I associated with him, he was making peanut butter and egg sandwiches. Disgusting, but we were just so lit. I don't know why it made sense, but his mom used to make these like makeshift McDonald's little, what is it, the McGriddle things, kind of like the sausage with the, I don't know, maple syrupy flavor to it.
Okay.
I hated them, absolutely hated them. But Brad thought they'd be better with syrup on them. So I was like, okay, put
Everything's
syrup on
better
them.
with
Didn't
syrup
have
on
any
it.
syrup. So the other alternative option was peanut butter. And he was like, syrup, peanut butter, both sweet. Put it on there. And he destroyed it, man. I was so lit. I just kept eating all the pizza pockets and stuff. That was all my thing. But like, I was inebriated high. We ended up sleeping for hours, 8 tons of food. And I've been, that's who I am now.
Consuming ever since.
Consuming ever since, man. It was great.
Good. You? When was
That's
the first time?
wild. Oh man, the first time.
First 5 times.
Yeah, right. Well, the first time I smoked, and then first time I actually got high. So like, I've talked about this. I think I might have talked about some from the stash. I know I've talked about it on my channel before, but 12 years old, backyard, my sister and her friend, joint of swag, Mexican brick weed, tons of seeds and stems, of course. And, so we're smoking back a joint. I remember taking several hits, right? And coughing, of course, virgin lungs. First time ever smoked. I've tried smoking cigarettes before that, but not weed. But yeah, 12 years old and didn't get high the first time. So it took me several times. And I think it was the same like Mexican swag that I was smoking that whole time. That's a majority of what was out there back then, It was a long time now. I'm 37 now, so it's like, you do the math. I was 12 many, many years ago, early 2000s, right?
It's crazy, dude. He probably smoked laced weed and didn't even know it. Like sprayed with something,
all sorts of crap
Yeah.
and what they used to do for the bud back then. Oh, it was terrible. But yeah, I remember smoking several times, and then the time I got high for the first time, still 12 years old. This is probably like, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks later, you know what I mean? Because I wasn't smoking every single day, 5 days in a row, right? I was kind of spacing it out a little bit. So 2 weeks rolls around. It's like my 5th time smoking. And I remember being with friends. I think I was in 8th grade at the time or 7th grade at the time. And I had a friend who was similar to you. He would take it from his mom. So I don't know if he would army crawl down in the room or anything like that, but
he
had this storage area and he told us where it was, and like in his mom's bedroom, whatever. And he would grab some every day. He would have something at the plaza that we were at, and there was a McDonald's there and stuff like that. But we used to go around back of the plaza and then fire it up and then smoke. And I forget which way we smoked it, but it probably involved a bottle and some tin foil.
Burnt hole. It's all chemicals.
Exactly.
To the side of it.
Yeah, that was probably what it was.
Like, is this like human nature? Yeah. Everybody from different areas across the globe have like made these shitty pop bottle freaking pipes that are burnt with chemical. Like, how?
Yeah. And think about how the chemicals you consume when you smoke a pop can.
Literally
Right?
seconds after, like
Pop cans are lined in plastic,
And-
like on
and-
the inside.
Well, and they've got fucking ink all over it and
Yeah.
stuff. We're just poking. Like, I remember one of the first things I smoked out of was a pop can, and I poked a bunch of holes in it. You got to have the right slits. Poked holes don't work as good.
It's engineering.
It's engineering.
Yep.
You curve the sides up, you know what I'm
Yep,
saying? A little
yep,
carb in the
yep,
side.
yep.
But man, that was covered in ink.
Yep.
And it just bad
Ugh.
chemical and
Yep.
aluminum. And we're just sitting here smoking it like
Crazy.
"Ugh." That's why we're passing out and we're getting so high. It's because we're like smoking formaldehyde weed and freaking aluminum. Like,
Yeah,
You know,
right.
like that's the dangers of when you're really young and consuming, but also it being illegal.
Mm.
And like I couldn't have just randomly found a pipe because it was few and far between for somebody to have one. So what do? I make a chemical and smoke that brick that I found from some 40-year-old dude
Yep.
after my mom cut me off. She found us doing her stuff. Like, you know, it's like that's the dangers of it. Being a kid, man, it's really, really dangerous. And
Yeah,
that
it
is
is.
that gateway drug. You don't even realize you're in the gateway just because that person will feed you whatever they want. They don't care. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
Crazy.
There's totally the
Not a
idea of
gateway
a
drug, but it's
no,
gateway
no.
person.
There is some legitimacy to it. You know what I mean? Like I've tried a myriad of drugs. Like I can't even list them all anymore. And it's like I don't think that ever would have happened if I did not smoke herb, because it doesn't. You know, it leads to next. You know, you consume, and then next thing you know, you got to go buy some, and then you know the guy's got some, and you know, and it's like, well, maybe he's got some, but maybe we go to the club, and you know, next thing you know, there's some pills involved, and it's like, well, I tried weed and it wasn't so bad, so it's like, let me try this too, you know, and it's not so bad, you know.
That's the government's doing because they thought it'd be good to just lie to us.
That's
now
right.
we
So
don't trust
I don't know.
anything
I
they
don't
say.
know. I don't know what's legit. It's like you
Yeah.
lied to me about this, and it was really good, and it's not even that harmful to me. So
But you
it's
told me forever in the DARE program. Did you have DARE program in
yep,
Canada?
drug abuse resistance education.
I don't remember what it's called. But I had a
That was
DARE
it.
shirt.
That was it. Yep.
I remember I started smoking and I had like a gut wrenching. I was like, I'm a piece of shit. Like I'm gonna get rid of this shirt. I can't have this shirt and represent DARE. I'm out here doing drugs. And then now it's like weed, drugs, what? But they brainwashed us growing up to think this is bad. So when we do it, I think the government made it into a gateway drug.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I do like. I just. There's not enough. I just feel like if there was more education, you know, if people were presented with facts about, this plant isn't as harmful as it's made out to be, but that other stuff, don't touch that shit. You know, that's not good. You know, it's like food.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like they tell you that, you know, got to get your vegetables, your grains, your dairy, you know, but they also tell you that, okay, well, McDonald's it's kind of really bad for you. So it's like, okay, you know, we don't eat McDonald's. You know, why? Well, because it's not good for me. Have I? Yes. But I make a conscious decision that I enjoy life. I enjoy my blood pressure at a reasonable rate. So I don't want to harm that in any way. You know,
But
so
then when the government tells you that, cereal is better for you than steak or red meat, it kind of makes you question everything. And like the more,
yeah,
the more we
you
have
have to
it.
question everything.
yeah, well, the more that's where I think when I started so young, it was more just because I'm like, government's full of shit. I don't trust them anyways. They did 9/11. So I was just like, I'm gonna smoke anyways. Plus, my mom consumed it, and she always told me it was charms, or some sort of thing, not weed. Until then, I got hip to it and brought it around to somebody else. I think it was Green Goblin's buddy Troy, and he was like, "That's weed. That is not cloves, bud." I'm like,
Oh,
okay.
makes sense.
This makes perfect sense. How did you stumble on it? I know with your background and your family, I doubt you stumbled on it on Pop's dresser drawer.
No, absolutely not. No, military family. We didn't have anything to do with it. It was. It wasn't until I got out, spent some times with other friends, and shout out. I'm not going to say his name because he's a good guy, but I lived with him and his family for a while, and they're very religious. And I remember him being like, "Pigeons, come here, come here." I was like, "What?" He's like, "I got something to show you." I was like, okay. And we had to wait till dark because his mom and pa had to be in bed. And we snuck out into his barn. And he had the smallest, and this is one of the things I feel like this is why people don't get really intoxicated off the first, is because I never had access to the amount of herb that I have now. And so as a kid, it's like you were scrambling for a G. You know what I mean? Like, so it's the pinner that we had when I was young was so tiny and so thin that like I don't think I could have gotten anything from it. But he pulls it out, and we're standing in his loft, and we get like halfway through, and all of a sudden we can hear, and it's footsteps coming through the snow. And we're like, oh my God. So we have 2 more really quick ones, and then we toss it out. And around the corner comes his brother, and he's like, smells like weed in here. Why didn't you guys tell me? You guys smoked this without me? And we were like, oh, we felt so bad. We were just like, oh my gosh. But I didn't get high either the first time that I toked. And that was the first time. And the next time I was with a bunch of strangers, and I'm pretty sure they like gave me a bunch of stuff that I did not need. I'm pretty certain this was laced with all kinds of stuff. I was the new guy on the block, and they were like, try this, try this, try this. And I was like, nothing, bro. Try this, try this. I'm like, nothing, bro. He's like, smoke this. I was like, okay, nothing, bro. And so, yeah, it took a while, man. It wasn't until like I was in like late high school where it's like school was boring, man. I hated school. It was a prison cell. You know, you're stuck in a cinder block jail cell for whatever hours a day. And it was really hard to focus. I suffer from ADHD. So, you know, it was really hard for me to just stay entertained. And having access to this plant, all of a sudden it was like, whoa, wait a second. Not only am I able to, I wouldn't say enjoy the time, but I could pass the time a hell of a lot more entertainingly, you know, and something might lose focus a few more times, but at least, you know, I'm not so distracted by what's going on in the classroom. But that's when I realized I could use it as an advantage.
Yeah, performance enhancer.
It was a hack.
Yeah,
because then my brain wasn't scrambling so much, and I wasn't so anxious, and I realized, okay, well, I'd go to my buddy's house, rest in peace, Ruthie, and we would toke in between breaks, and the next thing I know, I was like,
can breathe better.
I can breathe. Yes, and it's like, okay, I can do this, and then you know, and I got into university, and I was like, holy crikey, you know, really was
too much.
Was really well. Philosophy class and herb is a whole other conversation. But I realized that there's a time and a place for everything. You know, I realized I couldn't toke right before I started studying, because then my brain was just scrambled.
Study high. High scores. I mean,
it's pretty obvious.
It's
pretty obvious.
Thugonomics, you know.
Thugonomics.
Go to school high, study high, get high grades.
That's what it is.
That's what
this
they
is
say.
a quote.
It's
This
obviously
means
science.
is a wise man. You know, that was kind of me too. I feel like in school, I realized I used to just get obliterated before school. I remember 420s. You know, everybody kicking in their $10, $20 a piece, and like 2 ounces. Smoke it all before school.
Yeah.
Fuck, get lit, dude. And we literally would just puff back 2 ounces in massive joints and gravity bongs, and just get inebriated, absolutely inebriated.
Crazy.
But I never not smoked a small amount. I've been very blessed in that sense. Where like my grandma's connection became my mom's connection, became my connection type of shit. So I was very fortunate to be able to have access to weed like my whole life. You know, only time I didn't is on probation. And that was the hardest. And I got the highest on probation, I swear. Because, again, I wasn't supposed to be high.
That's because I always feel like you're the highest when you're somewhere where you're not supposed to be.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. It's weird how that does, man. Like, even when, as recent as like a month ago, smoking and thinking I'd be cool, an hour later, I've got a thing for my son, and I'm at the school, and I'm like,
whoa,
I'm high as fuck.
What
like,
happened?
the teachers are talking to me, I'm like,
Shirt
I
laundry?
smell like weed. What is this? You know, and it's like, that feeling is, it's like a nostalgia. It reminds me
love
when I was a
that
kid. I
feeling.
know, man. Like, it's
Love
like
it.
7th grade high. I'm like,
I almost feel like I got to do things to get that high back. You know, I
seriously,
got to
dude.
like go in a place.
Go to
Yeah,
a police
I wish.
station and just be like, hey,
No, you don't even have to go to the grocery store, man.
That too.
That one will mess you up. Like,
will.
yeah, because you're like, oh, I'm good. And then you get in there, you're like, oh, I'm not good.
See, and
I'm
that's
not
where,
good.
like,
I was
school
in a
the perfect thing
McDonald's,
for that.
dude. I was in a McDonald's the first time. I didn't even. We started about cans, and then they got shipped. I didn't even say how I got high first.
Oh, you finally got high, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, you
we
did?
talked
Oh,
about
right.
cans.
Right,
and then we
right,
were talking
right,
about-
right.
Anyways, so we're smoking out of probably a can, either that or we had a wood bowl or those metal bowls as well. And we were behind the plaza there, riding our bikes around or whatever, got stoned, and then we went into McDonald's. I remember just giggling, like the giggle you get when you first get high, like either the first time or first several times, just the giggle is just uncontrollable.
Yeah.
And that's what you never feel ever again. You never really get to like the time you first got high when you're
know.
just giggling nonstop and it's like uncontrollable. It's amazing.
It is
really
amazing.
is, dude. Like, and especially like again in those places where like you know you're bound as high, and you'll look over and you'll see your buddy who also has the same look. He's like, "Oh, dude!" You're like, "Fuck
They're
yeah,
lit together.
we together, we know it."
Hardcore.
Like with me and this kid Brad, man, like we'd be at school together, and like I'd be super baked, and I just kind of look back. We just die laughing. That's all it would take is eye contact. After we knew we were both just totally blazed, we wouldn't even know who got high first, but only in class, and all of a sudden I'd just be like, then he's like, "Oh yeah, yeah." Which is like, you don't get that anymore nowadays, especially because like I feel like when you consume a lot, when you do anything a ton, it loses the edge, it loses that touch. But now I feel like I'm smoking to get normal type of shit, you know? Like I'm tense, I need to smoke. But there's certain things that'll still put me over that point. Like that night at the High Rollers Jiu-Jitsu place, when we had those massive dabs, I was uncomfortably
dabbed
high.
out at
That was the
dab
first
bar.
time you guys got high right
Dude,
there.
I
was
I was
great.
like awkwardly
Got high
high.
like
Like I
that in
got
a while.
anxiety talking to people high, where I'm like, I'm gonna just scuffer over in the corner here, just to not say a word.
Homer Simpson meme where he
Yeah,
fades into the
slowly.
bush.
Dude, I looked at my heart. I got like a heart rate alert. I was so dabbed out. My heart rate like went up for a period of time and shit. I was like, what the hell?
And then your anxiety goes up. You're like, I'm gonna die.
Dude, I was
was
sitting there at a
funny.
certain point, just so sweaty, just like holding my head. Just
Yeah.
Just dying.
I got to admit though, I had the same dab and I was fine.
Yeah,
I dab regularly, so
I think that we got hot dabs. I think that's what it was.
Yeah,
Because my
dude.
dab wasn't that big. My smoke wasn't that big, but I could not breathe afterwards,
That
man.
piece wasn't
That
dialed in
coughing.
when we hit it because it was like one of the Puffco ones.
Yeah.
yeah.
But that's where it's like, as a kid, what do you do most times? You don't take a little. You hold it in as long as you can.
Yeah, you
because
kill
bro
as
science
many
tells you
brain
have to.
cells as you
The
can.
biggest rip you can, and you're tearing up and snotting and out of control. And like
Right.
that's the best hits. Otherwise, you're a straight up punk.
That's why I hit from the bong, man. I still get it.
From the bone.
I still
Yeah.
get it.
That's where it's like there's still those applications that do it, you know. And I think for most people who are like, especially older, if you're gonna start, you know, like I was saying when the episode first started, there's a guy I know who started later in life because of anxiety, because he wanted, you know, he had bad stress and anxiety.
Mhm.
Someone turned him on to that. That's not gonna be the same thing per se as a kid getting stoned. You know what I'm saying? But believe it or not, your body still will react with that goofy dumb high because you're not used to it. You know, like there still is that level of getting like 7th grade high, we'll say, where you're just like gone and you never experienced it in 7th grade. It's just where you're inebriated, your body's loose, you're relaxed, you're laughing, you're having a good time. I've never had that like out of body or psychedelic type of experience like people say from edibles or from
I
smoking.
have. Edibles.
Never-
We talked about that one.
I've always
Edibles.
Trey
wanted
came
it.
on. Yeah, it was nuts.
Edible. I've never had a like a hallucination.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. You've had something like that from edibles?
Close.
Yeah,
Close.
yeah.
Yeah, I told it in the one that episode that Chef Trey came on.
Yeah.
We were talking about edibles, right?
Yep.
Holy crap. That was like our 4th episode ever.
Was
It
it?
was an early epi.
Yeah.
Yeah,
was
yeah.
an
Trey was our
early
first
It was a
guest.
throwback.
We gotta get Trey back on.
We
soon.
do.
We do need to get Trey
yeah.
back on.
Oh, that was one of our
Oh,
first
yeah.
guests. Yeah, anyway, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah. So
Talking about psychedelics,
Well,
getting
like,
high.
yeah, it was like a brownies batch that was way too strong. Back in the day, Leafly used to have a recipe on there. It was double the amount. It said like I think it was like 2 ounces per certain amount of
Stole it
butter or
from
oil,
us.
and it was way too much. It should have been way less. And so, anyways, I had a really strong batch of brownies.
Ones you made yourself?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, with sour diesel.
I feel like those are
Some
almost the
sour
worst
diesel.
too, because you fucking go hard and don't expect it to be so much. Versus one when you get from a stranger, you're timid
Yeah.
and like, ooh, what'd you
Yeah.
put in here? But yourself, you're like, I'm good.
That's the
Oh
that's
man,
the
I got
po-
destroyed. And it was funny because my ex girlfriend at the time, she was trying to get high, and she was the one smoking, taking bong rips, coughing her ass off, not getting high, taking hits out of like a vape pen and not getting high. She got high off of those fucking edibles, dude.
Got her.
We were both destroyed. I mean, we were looking at ourselves. She was like crying and you know what I mean? 'Cause
Yeah, that's it.
That's why
I-
she
it
sure.
was
I
it
get
was
it.
intense.
Yeah,
For
Like,
that
I
to be
can't
the
get high
first
with
time.
you.
That's the problem
my
with
God, it
edibles.
was
man,
intense.
Is trying
It's
to
next
dial in
level.
that dose. Well, I've never felt anything from
For
edibles.
me, I
I've
don't either.
it's
But the
stupid amounts of
how your
edibles.
body metabolizes that is not the same as smoking. So
but it is like that freak out, like that paranoia. I'm gonna die. Like, what have I done? I need to go to the hospital. That's actually a common.
Mm.
That's a common. It's an
you heard
overdose.
that cop, the video with the cop who calls. He's like,
Oh,
"Hi,
yeah.
me and my wife
Yeah.
just ate some
Classic.
brownies. I think we're dead."
Yeah,
Like,
I think we're dead. Yeah, Or do you
That's
need
crazy
help?
shit to me, man, but,
But it's like I
it's
don't know if that's
real.
real. That
Dude,
one per se.
not that
but
one.
the idea or the example is a real concept. Like I don't want to throw my wife under the bus here, but she's done it. Yeah, she's did it, and it's where it's like you've just consumed too much, and this is people give me a hard time for this. It's like this is overdosing.
Literally.
You don't have to
definition.
die
OD.
from an overdose. You are overdosing because you took a dose that is over the amount that you should have taken. And people just get torn about that because nobody's died from weed. That's not what I'm saying. You've overdosed. You were paranoid. You're freaking out. Some people vomit. It's not unusual. And have you guys ever gotten sick from herb?
I
Like
have from
greening out
just-
is one thing.
Well, I have from like gagging. You know what I'm saying? Like when
Cough so fucking much.
dabs or extracts first kind of hit the scene and everything was BHO. You guys ever seen those little pens? They're like a metal pen like that with a little glass tube, a little cylindrical piece that screws in there, and you heat that piece up. It looks like a meth.
I've seen it. I've never used them.
I had no idea what I was doing, and they just torched it as much as they could. They come in the house with a big giant blue torch. Just shh. I'm like, oh my god, what is this crazy thing? We're doing hard drugs here. No, it's 100% THC. I took a hit, dude. I gagged so much, my lungs felt like they were seizing up. I was over my my sink trying to drink water while not being able to breathe. So like trying to get it down with my lungs. It would not allow anything but air going out, and I'm just making the biggest mess possible. And then, boom, Ralph.
I had a
Ralph
buddy.
Lauren.
I don't. I'm not even gonna call him a buddy, man. He's the guy
Acquaintance.
that we used to take his money and go get weed, and
Those
then
guys.
we'd smoke all of it. I can't have been the only one. With these
No,
guys.
I've had.
He had money and was
Shout
like,
out
hey,
to Corey, you punk.
hey, fucking yes, his name's Corey too,
Really?
bro. Yeah.
That's
Or
great.
maybe
You know,
I don't want to out him.
this is what
But
it
no,
is.
man, he like his mom would give him $20, and he'd come hit us up for herb,
Yep.
and we'd drive him into
Same
town.
kid probably.
We'd-
He's went to Canada.
We'd get 2 grams, and we'd take 1.5 grams of it for us, and we'd give him a
bags.
gram.
Yeah.
I remember what.
Didn't smoke it with you.
Yeah, you give him a 0.5 gram
Yeah,
and
then
smoke
he'd
it.
talk about-
Yeah,
oh,
smoke it.
man.
With, yeah, he'd smoke it with
We
us.
both were real toxic.
And then
though.
I remember,
I'm glad
yeah.
it's not
Wait till the
just me.
comments get this one, man. Every time I share asshole stories, man, people
He's
eat
get-
me.
He's a good
up.
person now. He's got a
I
kid.
get destroyed.
Trying to
yeah.
cancel
Don't
you
you
and
coach
shit.
girls
Sure.
soccer and shit?
Yeah, but yeah.
How many bad people coach girls soccer?
Well, stop it. Okay, so moving on. That got awkward real fast. But what I was trying to say is something that I totally forgot. So this is a really tough transition. So take it away at any time.
Well,
No,
with those people that you just consume all their stuff.
I was just we used to take. It started the asshole story. We used to take it, and I remember before he didn't know anything about growing. We took a leaf off a plant, we put it in a bag, and we're like, bro, you gotta smoke this.
Oh my god.
This is the best high you're gonna get, man. He didn't get high, and he's like, "Where's my money, man?" I was like, "I don't know. I didn't do."
That
like,
was the guy.
the
Let's
guy
kick his
made
ass.
me do this, man. Like I don't make I can't get your money back.
I had a dude like that one time that
But I got
bought
a little bit of weed.
oyster-
You want to smoke it?
I brought this from home.
I brought this. Yeah.
I had a guy, that same guy, my Corey. He was a piece of shit. He'd steal money from his mom and think he'd brag about it like it was cool. He'd be like, bro, I got $400 I took from my mom. I'm like, you're a piece of shit. Let's go buy some
Let me
drugs."
help you spend that.
Yeah, and one day he wanted some organis, and I was like, hell yeah, let's go do it, man. You know, 'cause normally I get you like cat litter or catnip for your flower half the time. So I literally went with a few buddies, and again, just for context, I was a piece of shit when I was young. I'm way better now.
Teenage
Great person.
years.
Yeah, we-
it's
yeah,
kinda
some of us
like
get
your
a
brain
little
isn't
older.
fully developed.
That's
Exactly.
right.
And
He
I
was
thought it
consuming at
cool.
12. This is why kids can't
That's
consume.
why kids can't consume.
11.
11.
11.
Yeah.
He was 12. He's a little better than me. I messed up. One more year. One more year, I could have made it safe. But
Yeah, right.
I ended
My
up getting
boy is
oyster
11.
mushrooms.
I couldn't imagine.
Oh, I know, dude. Like with mine,
He's a baby, man.
dude, I could
Fuck.
not even think about that. I
He's
know.
a baby,
Like,
bro.
holy shit. But I literally went and bought oyster mushrooms from the store and let them sit out on top of a grill that was cooking just
my
so they
God.
kind of crisp and sold them to him. And he was like, dude, I fried balls last night. And I was like,
And then you
"Yeah."
don't know if he's tripping, if
What?
he's
I
being
know,
truthful or not. Be like, no, I don't try him.
I know. I'm like, these
Fake.
oyster mushrooms, you dry them out? It's like a placebo or
God.
something. Same kid, I made him wait. Fuck that kid, man. I made him wait for Bud, and he was like in the woods across the street from this like kind of skid house we'd hang out at, and he was there all fucking night. And then I showed up there with parsley, catnip, and like a quarter of a gram of weed just sprinkled throughout it, and he was like, "That shit was fire, dude." I was just like, "Are you?"
Got him. Yeah, this guy, like the guy that I was talking about, he like, we were talking about getting sick. He got sick. Well, maybe because we were giving him crazy shit to smoke. It's all coming to me now. No, he would toke on bowls, and man, he would cough so much. He'd like vomit after like every time we got high. I'm like, bro, you gotta quit smoking, man.
Rough.
Like, how is
the
this
bowl after he's just
Not
gagged, puke
enjoyable.
all over?
No, we cut him off, bro.
He
I'm
still
like, "You're
smokes
done."
every day, and his teeth are just destroyed
Yeah.
from all the acids coming up through his puke. You know what I mean?
It's just weird, man. I'm
My
like,
buddy Brad was
some
in
people
Florida.
shouldn't smoke.
if you puke every single time you smoke,
That's bad.
I don't know.
That's
Yeah,
I
bad.
yeah.
wonder if there
bad
is. Is
gag
anybody out there
reflex.
that pukes every time?
Are you a puker?
Right? Have
Are
you ever
a
heard of
loved
that?
one puking
Well,
after
the
every
question-
bong hit?
But the thing is like, someone will be like, yeah, but I don't smoke anymore. Like, that's reasonable.
That's totally reasonable.
Right.
But why would you keep doing it
Right.
over and over and over
Real
again?
hard drug at that point. And every time you consume it, you're throwing up. Well, weed
Sir,
is
you
hard
got a
drug
problem.
for you. Yeah, like that's a gateway
No
to fucking
bueno.
the bathroom every time. Like this is where I think different strokes, different tokes for different folks will say.
Yeah, sure.
But like age groups of when you try it, dead given, you shouldn't be that young. You shouldn't be nearly as young as we were. Pigeon's a lot more acceptable in that age.
16.
But
yeah.
even still, when it's not regulated, it's that argument. I hate regulation. I hate government. Whatever. But
I'm pro regulation.
he is. But I don't. As a kid, man, if there was some more regulation and I can get it from someone who just went and bought it from the store, it probably wouldn't have been at a certain point laced with formaldehyde or PCP, embalming fluid, whatever. Wouldn't have had cocoon in it or some other shit. Wouldn't have had people ripping you off because you would have had some knowledge of the plant because it's out there, just like alcohol. You can't have somebody bring you a bottle of water to tell you it's vodka. You'd know better.
Right.
Even if it was in, a pop-off, you'd be like, this is water, bro. But with weed, somehow you can give somebody oregano and catnip and parsley.
Not just anyone. Like, yeah,
Not
it's
just anyone. No, I mean,
I'm
it's a
thinking,
handful-
it's
it's a
like,
handful of people.
I don't think I could pull it off. It's like, this is water, but I think someone might be like, well, I got so hot. I got so fucking
I was
hammered
so
off that
drunk off that
H2O.
shit.
That H2O hit,
Fire
bro.
water.
That's CBD H2O or what?
I think that there's a big difference with when it's regulated. Like again, with cigarettes, like I wasn't getting somebody's random tobacco. I was getting a pack of Salem Lucky.
Yeah,
You were young.
I gotta imagine these days, like the 12 years
They're
old, 13
literally
year olds, they're
getting-
getting weed packages from the
Exactly.
dispensary somehow.
Yep.
It's leaking to them, not freaking a bag of swag with all seeds and
Yeah.
stems and
Where
people
do
who
you
are
find that
watering it,
nowadays?
adding
Sprayed
in
in
moisture in
hairspray.
order to try to increase the weight on the scale and adding in, lemon peel or orange peels and
All
just
sorts of stuff.
spraying
dude.
all sorts of stuff on there in order to try to make it smell good. That not good to consume, right?
No, and the combustibility of it, like wouldn't love it, but it'd be cool for science to catch up to our past even and find some of that dirt ass brick weed. And do some testing of it for heavy metals and pesticides and random.
I don't think we want to know.
I just kind like part of me kind of does because then when you see in the regulated market when they're like, nope, tested too high for microbes, like or microbials, it's like I was smoking brick, dog, like straight up brick, where we'd get like a quarter pound that was smaller than this. This would be a pound, like literally the size of a cup, and we'd have to take a fork and a fork knife, and just pry it.
You gotta
get it
submit
apart.
that into testing and see what that
Dude,
shows.
that's
on
what I'm
all
saying. But literally, like with brick stuff, we literally would have some sort of container, most times like a pizza box, and we tilt it this way as we're breaking it up, just so the seeds would roll down to the bottom. It was so bad. Kids these days don't got to deal with that. They don't got to deal with.
You got
none
it
of that
made.
bullshit.
You got it made.
They're getting
I gotta be
bull
honest.
rocks and
But
shit.
the first stuff I had, maybe that I didn't get high because it was no good. But I've never seen brick weed. We've
You're
talked
so
about
lucky.
this before.
Talked about it.
Never even like we've always had good quality bud. It's like I shouldn't like you always get that outdoor harvest every now and again that gets through the cycle.
Yeah, but it wasn't compressed and sprayed
no,
with formaldehyde and have cocoons.
No,
in
it was the opposite. It was loose and fluffy. And
Yeah.
Brought over
barely
the
had any
border and
taste.
tires and stuff.
Dargo's did the same shit. Dargo's never seen brick. I'm like, God, you're so lucky. But at the same time, I wish you would have just for an
You could
appreciation.
appreciate.
Yeah.
No, I totally appreciate
It's
where
so
I've come
bad.
from and the bud and the flower.
We used to get like ounces of that stuff, and like when you're smoking that, you have to we put them in green tubes, right? So it had like 3.5 grams in a blunt.
Oh
and
yeah,
just,
yeah.
You smoke the whole thing. Oftentimes you have a headache.
Literally.
You know,
Straight
yeah,
up
it's
headache.
just,
Yeah.
and the high doesn't last long.
No,
Just real low THC.
those other
Very
times I
real
got
low
like
THC.
an inebriated high though, where I'm like, this isn't weed. This is not a weed high. Like, why am I
Yeah,
so
right.
high right now? Like,
PCP
I could barely
sprinkled in there.
walk.
Angel dust or something like
I
that.
remember one time me and a buddy smoked. I've talked about it before, the Fago 3 liter, and we smoked with a match. And I talked with him more recently, and he was like, "Oh no, his shit was always sprayed." I was like,
What?
He was like, "Yeah, that shit always had balming fluid." I'm like, balming fluid like for bodies? For what? Why? He's like, "Oh, for sealing and shit." None of that even makes sense at all. But there's people in like certain people in Texas will do that. Where they'll dip a joint in PCP or something, sherm sticks, and that's crazy to me. But when you had such low quality product back then, they wanted you to get a high, so they put something in it.
Right.
It's like nowadays
right.
with fentanyl and this stuff.
Right.
It's the same thing. But then it's like, so people were smoking weed with this. That's how dangerous it was once upon a time, man. That was us, kids,
Yep. Yeah. It's wild.
smoking formaldehyde.
No, thank you.
No bueno.
No
That's
bueno.
nuts. I think the more that legalization comes around, the more you won't have these issues. But still, kids shouldn't be smoking. We just were youngins on the rise. But obviously,
Turned
did
out
okay.
Turned
We
out
turned out
okay.
decent.
Turned out okay.
You know, I'd give us a good 7.5, maybe an 8. You know what I'm saying? Out of 10, could have been better. You know, but we still got time to grow.
That's right.
I think that with the early consumption, we've gotten more connected with the plant over the years. Not everybody could say that who started really early. Like we've evolved into a respect and a connection versus just getting up.
How long after you toked did you grow? Was it like within a couple years, or was it like you were an adult?
I was an adult. 2010 is when I started, so that was like, I don't know, solid 10 to 12 years or something like that. Do the math. I don't know. I'm not doing the math in my head right now, but
Yeah,
several years afterwards.
several is
Yeah.
a wide variation.
And we should actually do an episode on the first time we grew. I don't know if we've
Yeah,
done that
that's a
yet
good
on
idea.
From the Stash.
Talking about early grow days.
Early grow days, yeah.
That'd be cool. Even like who your first person you got genetics from? Did you go to a grow store? You know, like I got a weird story for mine getting started, so that'd be a good one. We should definitely do that.
That would be.
Yeah, what do you guys think? Do you guys want to hear that kind of stuff? The first time we started growing, I'm sure we've talked. I know I've touched on
A
the subject
little bit,
here and
yeah.
there. I've never actually fully
It's not a
disclosed.
full epi,
No.
No.
breaking it down.
But it was a long time between the first time I got high to gray was probably like a decade.
Yep.
No,
Yeah.
no, it was a couple years. Yeah,
Mine was 4 years later.
yeah. I think I'm about the same. 3 or 4 years
Yeah.
later. Yeah, because it was
My plants got
16 when I
stolen.
started.
Never even got smoking. But that's for another episode. We'll
That
save
is,
one.
that is. But of course, with any of these episodes, these are great stories. I want to hear from you guys. What kind of stories do you guys have? The first time you got high, I'm really I want to kind of hear it out in the chat. How many got high on the first time they toked?
Yeah, I want to know that too.
Pop that weed
And
cherry.
age too. Age.
Ah, yeah. Age.
Yeah.
How old were you? And did you get high the first time? I really want to hear about it. And then
Tell us your story.
tell us your story because honestly, it's pretty awesome how it's they all come together, and it's like I like how we all agree that like the first time you really get, it's like you're not a virgin anymore. That you're not getting that back. You know what I mean? It's the
It's
giggles
really
are
like the next
gone.
level.
Gone,
and
Gone.
that really helps shape and decide if you want to be able to continue that lifestyle of consuming or not. You know, because some people have a horrible experience and never do it again.
That's right, and like people say that too. It's like, no, I tried it, and I get really paranoid. That's a common one. And I'm not a doctor, so I don't like to just tell people what to do in terms of like, well, you need to try different ones, different kinds. But the reality is that that's probably what you need to do. I've actually toked stuff that I've gotten paranoid off of. I think maybe it was maybe improperly stored. Maybe it was degraded. Maybe it was whatever. I'm not going to say it was laced. Drugs cost too much these days to lace it in your weed. But I'm thinking like it might have just, not been perfect and got like a headache or paranoid or something like that. Do you get paranoid when you consume? Want to hear from you guys.
Absolutely.
It's a great conversation. I was going to say great question, but
It was a good question. It was a good conversation. But before we let go, I just want to give again a huge shout out to AC Infinity for helping support these epis, man. This is absolutely awesome that we can chill here every single week, talk about something that we're all so passionate about. But until next time, don't forget you guys can check us out on Twitch every single Thursday, 1 Central, 2 Eastern, and 11 Pacific, twitch.tv/FromTheStash. If you forget that and you're just looking for some information and some places to go to FromTheStash.com and get all information, including our merch. Oh, I'm not wearing it. Nope. Nope. But we do have some of the best merch in the game. Go check it out, guys. I'm looking like,
Nope.
FromTheStash.com/merch.
Yeah.
That's the one right there. Make sure you check it out. On behalf of me, Rob, Mr. Grow, also known as Chris, Pigeons 420, and Wink on the ones and twos. It's from the
Three-way.
stash, and we'll see you guys next time. Stay lifted.
Peace.